Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced, blockbuster podcast, Coffee with Carib Carter, coming to you exclusively from where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, fill up your favorite coffee mug and join your expert and your guide, Carib Carter Clues.
Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carib Carter, episode 7. And once again, we're going to do this thing, right? Let's do this thing. That's our motto, and that's what this is all about. This whole program is about you and I getting together saying, let's do this thing with the move offshore. That's my only concern. I want to make it clear up front here because, I was watching Gary Vee, and I'm going to talk more about him later, and he was saying to people, I have one concern. It's not making money. I can make money other ways, and I feel the same way. It's my concern is helping you make the decision that I know is going to change your life. And that's what Coffee with Carib Carter is all about. So once again, let's get started. Thank you. I'm thrilled you're here. Thank you that you're here. Thank you for the emails. I appreciate it. Thank you for the actions you're taking. And thank you for more and more of you following me on Coffee with Carib Carter. Folks, I post there every day. Every day. As a matter of fact, I try to do 5 posts a day there, updating you on offshore opportunities. Some, frankly, positive thinking opportunities, because the more positive we think, the more there's a chance, not a chance, definitely the more you're going to do this thing, okay? So follow Carib Carter if you can. Some good videos that I put up there. I post up land opportunities, the $1,000 Realtor Caribbean. I'm always looking for those and posting up. Remember, I do not get paid for those. They are simply my way of saying, folks, take a look at this, see what you think. Take a look at this, see what you think. They are, all of them, I'm going to say flat out, are about 1/10 of what you would pay if you bought a comparable property in the U.S., okay? In a much better condition, which I get to in Mad Max, the Mad Max report in a few minutes. I always like to start out with a little story for you. And today, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read you. Some of you got this letter, and I hope you followed up on it. But because it's what it says is very, very important, and I don't want to miss out on anything. So I'm going to let me do this. Let me read you what I wrote to a lot of you, and some of you didn't get it. So this will be the first time you're hearing it, and then I'm going to relate it all back later in the program. Okay, it's all going to come together later in the program, but it's a story that I think is well worth your hearing, because it will inspire you and it'll help you to make your move. Okay. The letter was to the Offshore Club friends, of whom many of you are part of that, offshore.club. In the late fall of 1955, this is the story. True story. A struggling young minister was offered an opportunity to invest $1,000 to buy 100 acres of beachfront property in an obscure, underdeveloped community known as Solomon's Island, Maryland. Some of you might know that one. That's right, just $10 an acre. $10 an acre. Beachfront property in Solomon's Island, Maryland, a mere pittance. This is pretty much what Solomon's Island looked like back then. Here we go. See here? Let me hold it up for you. In fact, as I say in the letter, that could be him trekking down that sand-sodden street there. 1955. Not much to see, was there? And not much to do. An isolated outpost in a black and white world. But since that cash-strapped minister was trying to raise a family of 5 on a preacher's pauper wages, he didn't have $10 to spare, let alone $1,000. So unfortunately, he had to pass up on his Solomon's Island opportunity in order to put food on his family's table. I say unfortunately because this is what Solomon's Island looks like today. Okay, let me get it right here. This is what it looks like today. Big difference, huh? And you ready for this? The property now sells for $315,000 an acre. which means had that struggling young minister been able to buy that 100 acres at $10 per, it could now be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $31,500,000. How do I know all this? How do I know all this for a fact? Because that struggling young minister was my dad. Okay? He was my dad. In a few minutes, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story and why it is so vitally important to you today. Okay? We're going to get into it. All right? And I think you're going to like this because of what it means for you. All right? So keep that in mind. The struggling young minister who, for a lack of $10 an acre, lost out on north of $30 million. Good man, wonderful man. He had his priorities and he couldn't do it back then. I don't want that to happen to you, but we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. First, let's talk about one of the reasons that I think you might, one of the many reasons I think you might want to take advantage of your Solomon's Island opportunity when it comes every week in the frequently asked question. Okay, every week I get one. I pick out of the questions I get which one is most frequently asked, or sometimes most forcefully asked. And this week, the question I get a lot, whether it's when I'm personally talking to people or in emails, is, Carter, when you lived in Honduras, and as most of you know, I'm back in the U.S. now while my wife, Honduran wife, gets her citizenship. Then we're moving probably to Nicaragua, but back down to Central America. But the frequently asked question I get is, when you moved there, because remember, back then I was alone. I wasn't married to Angelita then. I didn't even know her when I first moved there. I was alone, okay? When I tell you alone, I sold everything I had, bought a home in Honduras, El Pino, kind of the outback, and I left, okay? And people say, when you did that, when you got there, what'd you do for friends? Because none of us wants to be alone. None of us wants to be, the out there looking all around and thinking, Jesus, it's really one lonely life for me, because you will be, and I know this, and I appreciate it. When you make your move, a lot of you will be leaving behind friends and family, okay? So what happens when you make that move? Well, let me tell you in answer to the frequently asked question, what about friends when you make a big move like that? Here's what happened with me. I moved to a little town, as I told you, of El Pino, probably 500 people, okay? Half an hour from La Ceiba, which has about 100,000. And I'm going to tell you where I got what I did for friends, okay? I had several neighbors who were Canadian, okay? Wonderful people. George was just salt of the earth and still is. We're still very close friends. I can't wait to see him again. But what I did was I realized I want to make friends with the people who live here, the locals, okay? I want to see what their life is like and how I can share in that life, because it was unique and it was different. And let me just be honest with you. A lot of times I'd walk down the street kicking the stones in front of me and think, this is like America in the 1950s. There's something good and decent and simple about this lifestyle. So I wanted to get to know the people. I go up to the little tienda, the little shop, and talk with Glendy. The little girl worked behind the counter, sweet as she could be, right? And somehow we'd figure out that I wanted crackers. And finally, I learned to say galletas, okay? And that was, and a Coke. Coke is Coke, all right? You don't have to worry about that. But the other thing I did revolved around this right here. Some of you know what that is. Some of you may know very well that is. Now, that happens to be my 6-year, so good I am at Roman numerals, right? 6-year AA button, okay? I've got about 20 or so now. But I would go to get to know the people because I wanted to be part of the community. And I think you're going to want to be part of it too. These are good people to know. I go to the AA meetings, maybe 2-3 times a week. And I'd sit there and remember, I didn't speak Spanish. You know how bad my Spanish is now when I try and tell you some word in Spanish. Back then, I didn't speak hardly any Spanish at all, but I go to the AA meetings because the spirit was the same. And though I couldn't understand the words they were saying, I knew what they were saying, okay? Because it's always the same story. I realized my life had become out of control, and I got into AA, and it changed my life. And with me, it did too. I'm not even making AA message, or unless you are an alcoholic, then yes, I am. You need to get the AA. But the point I'm making is, I got to know those people. One was a carpenter. One, his wife was a bread maker. Um, One was a furniture maker, and I got to know him. And we found a way to talk and to communicate. And not only got to know him, I got to love him. Okay. And they did become my friends, my very close friends. A lot of them were very, very poor, barely getting by, but good, decent people. And so I'm encouraging you to do that. And the answer to the friends, what do you do for friends? You make friends with them. Okay. Some of you are going to move into places like the gorgeous, Mike Cobb's gorgeous Grand Pacifica or Grand Bayman in Belize. And then most of your friends are going to be North Americans. But you're still going to want to get out the community. And some of you are going to do like I did, though, and buy a place like a lot of them I've recommended to you, most of which I found on Vivian, VIVIUN.com. Okay. I'm going to tell you about another one in a few minutes. But get to know the people, bring them into your life, and enjoy their life and enjoy your lives together. Okay. So that's what you're going to do for friends. That's the answer to that question. All right. And that brings us to, and I hope that's a good answer for you, because I promise you, you're going to find it a wonderful, wonderful experience to get to know these people. Simplistic lifestyle, simplistic people who will enrich your life. Okay. And you, because I know you more and more now, because I hear so much from your community. I know you, and you're going to enrich their life too. So it's the best of both worlds. So let's talk about now something which is not the best of both worlds, and not the best of any worlds increasingly, and that is the Mad Max Report. Now, those of you who regular viewers every Monday at Offshore Club, Coffee with Carib Carter, you know what the Mad Max Report is about. It's, I just gave you the dream. Now I'm going to give you the dread. Why you need to get out. And I say this sincerely. And, I want to make a point here. I got one note from somebody the other day, and I know they were sincere, but they said, you don't, sometimes it seems like you don't like America. I love America. Hey, I was in politics in Washington for over 40 years. That was my life. I gave my life to America. You don't make a lot of money, even as high as I got at the top at the Senate, top director of communications, working with the White House, on and on and on. It's still not the kind of money you could have made in private industry, because that wasn't my focus. My focus was, Frank, to put it very simply, God bless America. I told you, that was my mission in life, and I did it. So please don't ever think that I'm saying you should hate America. I'll love America till the day I die, but this right now, it's not America. And I'm pausing to let that sink in, because you know it as well as I do. The freedom, the joy, the pleasure of America, the daring do of America is gone. And I'm telling you, because I know politicians, I worked with those people. They're not letting it come back, okay? They have found a way to grab the freedom and squeeze it out. It's power to them, power and money to them, and that is what they crave. So if you ever think you're getting your freedom back, just remember what two of the governors said as they took all the freedom away. Governor Murphy in New Jersey, when they said, what about the Bill of Rights, the freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, the right to privacy, his response was, I didn't give the Bill of Rights a second thought, and they're never going to again. Another governor you have to listen to, Governor Newsom of California, who, when they said, what about being able to go to the beach again? What about being able to go to our favorite restaurants, everything that made our lives good? He said, they're closed. This is the new normal. Get used to it. They mean it. They mean it. They mean it. And so in your Mad Max report, this is where I tell you these, not because I don't love America, but because I love the American people more. Okay. I love you more, and I want you to have the good life at a great price that I know is not here anymore. It's big, and the weight is all on you. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not what you bargained for. It's not what you paid all those massive taxes for that are going to be 75% by the time Joe Biden's done. It simply is. Okay. It's simply, they are. Okay. So I was listening the other day. I'm not going to drag this on much longer. To Gary Vee Vaynerchuk. Those of you who are real big on social media, he is the greatest social media maven in America, Gary Vaynerchuk. And he was telling people, it's over. There's going to be a massive crash. There's going to be a massive crash. And he said, look, you can't have a world. And he said the same thing that I think I've been telling you. China, Russia, Iran, Turkey, these are serious countries now. He said they are over there building their economies, building their military, building their whole lifestyle, okay, building their countries, and we're here spending money that in massive deficit that can never be paid back now, and increasing every day under this administration. And he said, and while we're doing that, our biggest concerns are, is my child going to get a participation award for playing on the soccer team? Or another one that I'm telling you, are you going to make sure you let that 6'2" boy compete on my little daughter's basketball team? If that's your concern in life, America, you're going to have a pretty tough time with countries like China and Russia and Turkey and Iran, whose concerns in life are serious, okay? Growing their countries, growing their economies, growing their military, and frankly, a little bit of expansionism, okay? You've done your part. You've done your part. You did everything you could. I often think, and I'm going to stop with this, but I often think what Ronald Reagan said when somebody said he betrayed the Democratic Party when he became a Republican. And Reagan, who was always, I worked with him, he was always delightful. He said, no. Mm-mm. Well, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. Well, the politicians of fashion of day left you. So it's altogether fitting and fair that you accept that and you leave as well. Okay, I'm just telling you, all right? So that's the Mad Max report. That's a Mad Max report. Enough of that. But in fairness to you, I want to share it with you because it's important. Just like I want to share the great friends I know you're going to make when you do resettle, when you do make that move. Don't worry about the friendship. They're there. They're waiting on you. You're going to find them. Open hands and open hearts. Okay, open and waiting for you and very receptive. Okay, and there's every reason. There's every reason to leave what's already left you. All right, let's just leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. And let's get back then, if I may. Every week we do a friends and family interview. And the interview for today is one that I did with Mike Cobb, okay? Now, some of you know Mike Cobb. Some of you are saying, I know that name. I know that name. Of course you do, because Mike Cobb does open mic every Friday at the Offshore Club. Your Offshore Club. And Mike and I talked and said, I think a lot of people, every day, including with this, it's lifestyle. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, Coffee with Carib Carter. Tuesday, the Expat Mom with Elisa. I hope you're watching all these. These are great video podcasts. They are great. They're all about the lifestyle you're going to get to lead, including the cheap prices, the enjoyment you're going to have there, the great things to do. Wednesday, Roving with Rachel. Thursday, the Family Man, the Community Man with Pat Hebert. Some of his videos, are fantastic. And then on Fridays, open mic. Mike and I talked and said, all 4 days are lifestyle. Let's make the fifth day something unique about investment, okay? because there are a lot of you, I know this because I get your emails. A lot of you have a little bit of money and you come to me and say, should I invest it here offshore? Where offshore should I invest it, right? And I give you some good leads. I've got some nice notes back saying, hey, I bought what you recommended. And again, I do not get a commission on these, okay? That's not my purpose, not my point. And so I said, Mike Cobb is the offshore entrepreneur, not an offshore entrepreneur, the THE. So I talked to him and said, let's turn Friday's open mic into let me interview you every Friday about investments offshore, okay? Property investments offshore. And that brings us all around to the story I opened with about the struggling minister who was offered the opportunity to invest in 100 acres of beachfront Solomon's Island property for just $1,000 in the late fall of 1955. $10 an acre, but he didn't have the money. He didn't have the money because he was feeding his family, okay? He was feeding his family, so he couldn't spend that $1,000 to take advantage of that Solomon's Island opportunity. And as I showed you, that property today is worth $31 million, okay? Now, the rest of that story, as I told you, is that was my dad. So I know all about it. Am I upset? No, I'm not upset. I'm not upset for myself, even though it would have been great if he had left a little bit at 31 million behind. I'm not upset for him because, as I said in the letter I sent you all, right now he has that mansion over the hilltop in a pearly gated community where the streets are paved with gold. Okay, so he finished out way ahead. But the fact of the matter still remains that here on Earth, on this terrain, he missed out on the Solomon's Island opportunity. And I don't want you to, because right now, what let's call the Solomon's Island opportunity is in Central America. There's beachfront property there. Matter of fact, I just saw 1,000 acres on Vee Vaynerchuk for $800,000. And that's a lot more than I usually tell you about. But, if you got a couple friends together and they have financing available, 1,000 acres of beachfront in Nicaragua for $800,000. Imagine what that's going to be worth. Talk about a Solomon's Island opportunity. Imagine what that's going to be worth in 10 years, okay? Because the growth, the spurt is already there. A lot of people are already listening to the Mad Max report and making their move offshore. Every one of those that moves is going to be looking for a property to buy. Let them buy it from you, okay? Let them buy it from you. All right, especially if you buy the whole, get 8 friends together at 100,000. Okay, 16 friends together at 50,000. I'm in. All right, so that's great. I saw another one. Great investment opportunity. Here we go. This one again in Nicaragua, Yalaguina, Nicaragua. We do this every week. We do our $1,000 realtor Caribbean. Look at this one. Can you see this? See this one here? Okay, I'll leave it there for a second. Folks, that is 33 acres. 33 acres. Gorgeous, gorgeous property. Hour north, 2 hours north of Managua. Great location. Quality built. 33 acres, actually 2 houses with a pond. 3 kitchens. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, solar panel and batteries. Total $79,900 negotiable. How do you beat that? How do you beat that? If you didn't do anything with it and waited 5 years, I would wager you would double, triple, maybe more your money, okay? You took a corner for yourself and sold, just hold on to it, just sit on it. That's what my wife and I are doing with our property in Honduras. I told you in the past, we got it for $30,000, 3-bedroom home, gated, nice little community. If we never we will spend time in it, but even if we didn't, in years to come, values are just going to go up and up as more and more Americans make that move north. So what I did, and that's why I asked Mike Cobb, who bought, I think 2.5 miles of beachfront property in Nicaragua 20 years ago for $2 million. He had sold a computer firm, I think, and built Grand Pacific on it. Now it's worth, I can't even begin to imagine. I can tell you 10, 20 times that much. And so he knows. He took beachfront property he got for next to nothing in Belize, did the same thing. Okay. He's buying some in Honduras now. Okay. Because this man is a savvy. He is the smartest offshore investor that I've ever met. I think that you will probably ever meet. I remember, you know him now because he's on the board of the Offshore Club. All right. He's of your club, Offshore Club. He's on the board. So you have direct contact, and you have direct contact now with someone who can guide you. And that's what he did when I interviewed him for open mic. And what I've decided to do, the open mic was on Friday, but I have a feeling a lot of you might not have seen it. Some of you focus on Coffee with Carib Carter. Maybe you just didn't get the message in time. So what I've done for today is I've asked our super producer, Brian, to run that for you. Okay. We always like to interview somebody. There's nobody, trust me, that it is more profitable. We're talking investment here. Okay. For you to hear from than the offshore entrepreneur. Okay. The guy who, when he tells you, if he told me, Carter, invest in porcupine quills in Madagascar, I'd buy him by the trailer, truckload full. Okay. That's how good he is. And you're getting his advice totally free. So without further ado, let me ask our super producer, Brian, roll that video, folks, and you are going to love this. And I'll be right back. Rockefeller. I'm talking to Mike Cobb, okay? He wasn't born with massive wealth and a silver spoon. You started out right in a middle-class family, right?
Yeah. Both my parents. My dad was a college professor. My mom was a elementary school teacher. I grew up in Northwest Pennsylvania, for me, there's always been this sort of sense of adventure that I've enjoyed. Even as a child, doing a lot of traveling with my parents. We were very fortunate. My dad would teach in Europe a few summers, and so I got to spend some time overseas growing up. And I think that probably really opened my eyes to opportunities outside the United States. And when I graduated from college in 1986. I moved to the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia, and I got into the computer business. But there's some interesting parallels, Carter, to what happened, because I got in 1986 on the PC side of the business. And as you guys, if you're old enough to remember, back in the 80s, mainframes were the computers there, you had these giant computers in the basement of buildings, and you had these really smart, computer science guys and programmers who were, down there working on it. And maybe you had a dumb terminal at your desk somewhere. But, by the mid 80s, these things called PCs, personal computers, were just coming out, XTs and 286s and 386s. And, the people on the PC side of things, were like, this is revolutionary and this is where it's going. And the people in the mainframes were like, you got to be kidding me. These little things on top of people's desks, nobody's going to use those things. I mean, we got all the computing power in the basement, right? Well, obviously, here we are, 40 years later. And wow, I mean, mainframes are pretty much gone. There's still a few out there. PCs have taken over. And so if you were fortunate enough, and I use the word fortunate because I graduated as a political science major in college. I didn't know what I was doing. I fell into sales, and I got lucky and got in on the PC side of the business. So, I was fortunate to be on the side of the business that was in ascendance, revolutionary time, real paradigm shift in the computer business, and was fortunate to be in that for about 13 years. Started doing some business south of the border, and we can talk about that a little bit. But just to wrap up the concept, what we've seen in the last 25 years, which is how long I've been in the development business in Latin America. We started our company, ECI Development, 25 years ago. There aren't many development companies who can say we're in our 25th year of business. Yeah, most development companies that were around 25 years ago are simply out of business at this point. But what started to happen maybe 20 years ago, we could see it on the horizon 25, 28 years ago. But about 20 years ago, this powerful revolutionary shift occurred in the development business, with more and more people understanding the quality of life and the affordability overseas in retirement, especially the baby boomers leading that. And so, it was kind of nice to take this concept of revolution in the PC business and take this big paradigm shift that was happening in the development industry overseas and take that and leverage it forward. So the big picture concept, that's really, how I think, been able to spot the trends and be able to stay in front of this path of progress that has been occurring throughout, Latin America, for a long, long time.
That's perfect. And I'm glad you said the trends, because folks, that's what's important for you as potential investors. And again, this show is an investment show. I'm really excited about it because I love the lifestyle shows. I absolutely, if you watch Carib Carter, Coffee with Carib Carter, and please tell me you do, please, every Monday at 10 o'clock, then I love the lifestyle. Like, I own a home in Honduras, and my wife is from Honduras. So, but this is a show where you not only do you get some of the lifestyle, but you also get investment advice in the places where I think, and Mike, you're the expert. Guys, this is the expert here. This is not just somebody saying like, well, I think that this, he's done it. He's been there. He's done that. He is your millionaire next door. So what you have, I want you to think about something. Mike, I think you're going to find this interesting. When I was a kid, and that was a very long time ago, my dad was a minister in Hollywood, Maryland, right? Now we're talking 60 years ago, okay? And there was a place called Solomon's Island. And I remember somebody saying to Dad, Reverend, you can buy an acre of land for $10 there. You ought to buy a couple of acres. My father said, where am I going to get $10, right? And today, that acre of land is $315,000. Yeah. That's the median. Okay, folks, what we're telling you right now is it's your acre of land. We're focusing on Nicaragua today. Your acre of land is there. Yeah. Mike, am I right or wrong?
You're absolutely right. And, there's a great chart, which I call the popularity chart. And it's we have several resources. We have a consumer resource guide, which I hope people will request. If you're thinking about anything overseas, owning a vacation property, owning a retirement property, making an investment overseas, if you're thinking about anything transactional outside the United States or Canada, please, please, please request the consumer resource guide. It is a document that we've put together over the last 25 years, chock full of questions that we should be asking, ways of thinking, mini country handbooks. It's not a sales document. I mean, it is well, and then there's this one, the Nicaragua Handbook specifically. We're talking about Nicaragua today.
Incredible.
But the thing to kind of remember is this idea of a time machine, right? And so you've got different countries in the region that are more and less popular. Let me just pick three real fast. In Central America, to make it real simple, a country like Costa Rica is probably the most popular country in Central America. And a country like Nicaragua is probably the least popular country. And a country like Belize or Panama is somewhere in the middle, right? They're more popular than Nicaragua, but not quite as popular as Costa Rica. And so we have this chart that I've developed and a whole article that's in the Consumer Resource Guide that goes around this. But the idea is that, so for example, Cardi said Hollywood, Maryland. If a young couple gets married in Hollywood, Maryland, and want to go on their honeymoon, they're probably, if they're thinking about Central America, they're probably going to Costa Rica, right? Like, yeah, maybe Belize, but not many of them going to Nicaragua. Okay,
but they should.
But they should. Yeah, they should. And by the way, not only have I invested in the region and worked in the region, I personally lived in Nicaragua for 14 years. I took my wife and 2-year-old daughter. We moved down there for what we thought would be just a few years to get our project started, our Grand Pacifica community there. And we ended up staying 14 years because my wife loved it. And so not only have I invested in the region, I've lived as an expat and raised a family overseas. So the quality of life and the affordability is something very personal to me as well as professional, right? There's certainly a professional side of it, but it's very personal too. But the thing to remember about a country like Nicaragua, it's not very popular. So therefore, the price of property is very, very low, kind of like Solomon's Island, 60 years ago, right? And so if you're looking for price appreciation as a country becomes more and more popular, you want to locate in a country like Nicaragua because the property prices are very, very low. And as Nicaragua grows in popularity, which it has been, for 20 years, and it continues to grow, the price of properties will continue to appreciate. So at a big picture level, appreciation you're going to find in less popular countries. On the other hand, if you said, you know what, I want predictable, strong cash flow, well, then you probably want to own a property in Costa Rica. Because guess what? Lots of honeymooners going to Costa Rica. Lots of people going on vacation to Costa Rica. So you get more predictability. You get more cash flow. You'll pay more for your properties, right? So your yield might not be tremendous, but you're going to get predictability and cash flow. So depending on the type of investor you are, you want to put yourself into this range of properties. If you're, again, looking for appreciation, less popular, looking for cash flow, more popular. And then, I know we're talking about Nicaragua today, but, a country like Belize or even a country like Panama, they're kind of in the middle. They're halfway up the curve, say, which makes them kind of in the sweet spot because you still got room for appreciation, but they're popular enough to cash flow. So again, depending on what you're looking for as an investor, different countries, different types of investment are going to make more or less sense for you.
I love that, and I think I think I should have set the table properly here. Today we're focusing on Nicaragua, because of just what you just said. Because I think it is a great investment.
It is,
and I know Mike does too. And to me, Mike, it's kind of like in 1980 when you talked about whether you want to invest in Costa Rica or Nicaragua. Kind of like in 1980, if somebody said to you, "You want to buy some stock in Apple or IBM?" Well, you know what? IBM was pretty damn safe in 1980,
yes.
and your return on investment was not too good. If you had invested the same $1,000 in Apple, you'd be a millionaire now. Nicaragua's Apple. Yep. Nicaragua's Apple. Mike, I'm going to say something. You may say, Carter, I don't buy that. Here's how I feel about Costa Rica. You've noticed, anybody who watches Coffee with Carib Carter, notice I've never tried to tell you, hey, here's a good deal in Costa Rica. To me, Costa Rica is second world living at first world prices. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel.
Well,
that's how I feel.
Hey, look, that's an honest opinion you're giving.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't frame it quite like that, but that's okay. I mean, that's, but yes, it's expensive by Central American standards.
Yes.
Costa Rica is expensive, and it is not measurably nicer than any other country in the region. In fact, I lived in Nicaragua for 14 years. My preference is Nicaragua, hands down. I loved when I lived in Nicaragua. I don't live there anymore, but I loved it. The quality of life was tremendous. Cost of living insanely cheap. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah. And so let's here. So what we're going to do is, I want everybody here after this show. Don't leave and do it right now. After the show, I want you to go to ecidevelopment.com. And if you leave about 2/3 way down the homepage, you'll see the handbooks. They're right across there. Yep. And click on the Nicaragua, okay? Yep. Because that's this one right here. And I'm telling you, it is a fantastic handbook because it tells you everything you need to know and why. And as you read it, you're going to realize why we're talking about it as an investment. Table of contents, weather and climate, society, culture, places to visit, cuisine, medical and healthcare, outside the city. So, and Mike knows this. Mike owns Grand Pacific in Nicaragua. Yep. In Belize, it's Grand Bayman. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
And then Costa Rica
is Grand Caribbean.
Grand Caribbean, right?
And Panama is Gran Islotes, and then our newest community there is the Freedom Village up in the highlands, up in the mountains.
Yeah, and we have talked about that. It's up in Boquete area, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which actually for me is where I'd want to go because I'm not a beach person. You might say so. Yeah, Carter, you're not a beach person yet. You went and bought a home in Honduras that's a beach, one giant damn beach. Well, believe it or not, but the other day I tried to persuade my wife, let's make another investment in La Ceiba. And she said, I don't like beaches. And I thought, well, this is just, you were raised on the beach. Well, maybe that's why. But at any rate, so if you get this handbook, look at the table of contents, and you're going to see why we're saying to you, it's a good time to buy. Now, let me put it in context again. 10,000 people a month are moving out of California.
Yeah.
10,000 people, and that's going to accelerate. Tony Robbins, we all know Tony Robbins, who I like a lot. Tony Robbins said on one of his shows that when he left California, he saved $13 million a year in taxes.
Yep.
Why would anyone? But people are looking, they're going to be looking for places that have that kind of weather, that have that kind of beachfronts.
Yeah. And that's a great point, by the way. Southern California, along the coast, say from, maybe Malibu down, really has a very similar climate to and geography to the coastline of Nicaragua. That was the thing that when we first went there in 1999, 2000, started looking for property. I mean, it just screamed to me California 75 years ago, right? That I just was. I mean, Carter. Right. It just, it's just incredible. We purchased, I tell people, it's common knowledge. I mean, we purchased 3.5 miles of beachfront property. The property's a mile deep. It's 2,500 acres. Imagine a rectangle, a mile deep and 3.5 miles of beachfront property. And we purchased that property for $2.5 million. I mean, like in California, you'd be in the hundreds of millions of dollars if you could even find a piece of property that big on the coast. And so, I mean, that's that $10 Solomon Island acre of property, right? And now we're here, 20 years later, or 21, 22 years later, you're not going to find that same opportunity again. But, an oceanfront condo, Carter, for $139,000. At Grand Pacifica, home sites on the water, beautiful Pacific Ocean views from $200,000 to $300,000, right? I mean, this is an acre on the ocean for, I don't know, just right around 300, just under 300. Homes with an direct ocean view, again, in that, $200,000-$300,000 range. So the affordability is 1/10 or less what you would pay in California, without all the tax hassles and regulatory nonsense. And, and the other thing that's really cool about
1/10, I'm going to reemphasize it. Folks, he's talking to you about investment advice here. 1/10 of the cost.
Yeah. And one quarter the price of Costa Rica. I mean, so you're talking, compared to Costa Rica, it's a quarter the price. Compared to Panama, it's maybe half the price. Right. So, again, even in the region, it's a bargain. The thing that I've always said about Nicaragua and I love about the country is this incredible freedom that they really let happen. A lot of people remember, the Sandinistas in the Civil War from the 70s. I mean, it ended in 1989, call it 1990. What's that, 30 years ago? I mean, it's just not even a factor anymore, right? It's what we kind of remember because that was the news cycle for 10 years, but that's over, gone, done. I mean, 30 years, that's a generation and a half, right? So it's just not even relevant anymore. But the level of freedom that country has really given, is incredible. And that's what resonated with me and has resonated with a lot of the folks who are deciding to own properties in Nicaragua, is just this real hands-off, laissez-faire type of attitude towards foreign investment and property ownership, which is quite honestly refreshing, exceptionally refreshing.
And I'm going to just say it point blank, blunt out. You are not going to find that in America ever again. It's not going to happen. I have a fire pit in my backyard. It's the worst investment I ever made, Mike, because the damn city of York won't let you put a fire in your fire pit without throwing a hissy fit.
Wow.
Now, fortunately, I have a home in West Virginia in the country, and I have a fire pit there. I can burn whatever the hell I want. But that's it, folks. It's going to keep on. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't.
Right.
How about going somewhere where it's free and the investment's good? And you brought up, Ortega is the president there, and
Yeah.
this is, well, I had to laugh when you said it because Mike knows this, but a lot of folks don't. I spent almost 50 years in politics in Washington, and in the early 1980s, a big part of my job as the director of communications for the U.S. Senate and working with Ronald Reagan was to stop Daniel Ortega.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If I met him today, the first thing I'd do would be apologize. Because it's like, to me, he's the best. He's the best leader in Central America, and people are going to wonder. I know everybody's wondering, so I'm going to ask you point blank: how safe is your investment in Nicaragua?
Yeah. Well, let me cover safety a couple different ways. One, safety of investment, but also personal safety, because a lot of times people ask about personal safety. They're similar, but let me start with the one that I get asked a lot more than the investment, which is personal safety. I took my wife is a blonde. I had two tow-headed daughters. We did not look Nicaraguan at all, and we not a bit. And we lived in Nicaragua for 14 years. My wife would drive our daughters around. I mean, I traveled a lot. I was on the road 2 to 3 weeks a month. My wife lived in Nicaragua for 14 years with our two daughters, okay? They would drive anywhere and everywhere, up into the mountains, down, these ancient dirt-rutted roads to find a butterfly farm in the middle of nowhere, beaches that were inaccessible. Generally they'd go and they'd get stuck in the mud and they'd find a farmer to, get the oxen. I think on 2 separate occasions, they literally got stuck in horrible, rutted, muddy roads and had to go find a farmer to pull them out, right? And it's, my wife and a couple little tow-headed kids, right? And so, but again, no fear. And in 14 years, the only act of crime that ever happened to us was that our we call him a caretaker, but I mean, he mowed the yard and he took care of the car, washed the car, went on errands, did that kind of stuff for us. One of our caretakers, cuidadores, stole a couple pairs of my pants that were drying in the backyard on the laundry line. Like in 14 years, that was the crime we experienced. Now, truth be told, we were home in bed, 10 o'clock at night. Like, I mean, and crime is local. Like, crime is local. There are great parts of Chicago. I'm in Chicago right now. That's my hotel room. So I'm up here meeting with a bunch of realtors and realtor associations for we have a lot of realtors that refer business to us. Anyway, so I'm up in Chicago. You know what? There are parts of Chicago that I think are probably pretty dangerous.
Like the whole damn city. They kill 12, 15 people a weekend there.
What? I'm in Chicago and nobody's killing anybody where I am. Okay. So, so the point is, crime is local. Same thing in Nicaragua, Belize, Panama, wherever, Mexico, right? I mean, there are places that you don't want to go because that's where the crime happens. But the vast majority of all these countries is very safe because, crime is very local, right? But let's go back to the investment question, because this is what you asked about specifically. Here's the thing. There are no guarantees. I mean, eminent domain, United States, I mean, they took a whole bunch of people's houses in, I think it was Connecticut or something, and, whatever, to put in Walmarts, right? They took people's homes to put in Walmarts because the Walmarts would generate more tax for that local community in Connecticut, okay? So, I mean, think about that. The government took your home to build a Walmart, okay? So
it's like a Halo decision, Mike, and they can do it at any time. All they have to say is we get more tax money from giving your house to that guy, and your house is gone in America.
Your house is gone. This is the United States government taking your home, okay? Yeah. So let's be clear that governments can take property, U.S. government included, right? The Nicaraguan government can take property, but unlike the U.S. government, where I don't think foreign investment into the United States dropped one iota when that happened, okay? The moment that a country like Nicaragua, not just Nicaragua, but a country like Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Belize, pick a country, right? Developing country. The moment they take a foreigner's property, foreign investment is going to go to zero or close to it. So, you know what? There is this strong economic imperative not only to protect foreign investors, which they do, right? Because it's very self-serving to protect foreign investors, taxes, jobs, right? but to actually create policies and programs that encourage foreign investment. Please come to our country. Please create jobs. Please pay taxes, right? And so it's the exact opposite of so much of what we find in the U.S. and Canada, where it's, I mean, this is the time, how many, I forget the number, you said 10,000 people a day or whatever was leaving California, right? And they're finding more favorable places in the U.S. to go, right? There are states in the United States that generally want business and have programs and incentives to do that. But when you go outside the United States to a country like Nicaragua, whatever they're offering in the U.S. pales in comparison to what these countries offer, because they really, really, really want foreign investment. And then once it's there, they really, really, really protect foreign investors. So of all the countries in the region, Carter, of all the countries in the region, I personally, the Cobb family, it's actually my wife, of course it is, right? What's mine is hers, what's hers is hers. But anyway, our family, Nicaragua is where we have the most property that's personally owned. As a company, we own, property all over the region. But as a family, Nicaragua is where we've chosen to own the most property personally, because I'd rather buy $10 acres in Solomon Island and let my children 60 years from now, right, get $300,000 an acre. I don't need the money, right? So like I'm gonna buy very inexpensive property, and my kids and my grandkids, if and when they need money, they can sell it for many, 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 many multiples of what I was able to own property for. So again, that's us personally, but I think for many investors, wanting to get the appreciation of asset over time, a country like Nicaragua is a bullseye.
A bullseye for what in the investment world we call accumulated equity. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Okay, we only have like 3 or 4 minutes, so I'm going to ask you, not to put you on the spot, but if you could say to the people right now who are listening to you and thinking, you know what, that does sound like a good investment, give us 3 places in Nicaragua that you would say, hey folks, look at these places to invest in. And let me say 4, because one of them, honest to God, would be Grand Pacifica. If you can get a beachfront home for $129,000, a gorgeous beachfront home in Grand Pacifica that would cost you probably $500,000 here or more, that's a great investment.
Yeah.
Or more. In some places, as much. Where else? I like Gino Tig. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, Hinotega.
And Matagalpa.
Matagalpa.
Some great prices.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. So you've got, and these are big coffee growers. Hinotega is actually cigars and coffee. So if you like smoking fine cigars and you like drinking fine coffee, Hinotega, Matagalpa, beautiful homes, very, very affordable homes, farms if you want to own a farm, or if you really want to own like a coffee plantation. There, people sell their coffee plantations. So you could look at that. Another place that I would look at would be Granada, Nicaragua. It's a 500-year-old colonial city. You can buy an old colonial home. They actually have a lot of historical restoration restrictions. A lot of people don't like the restrictions, but I mean, they're trying to preserve this 500-year-old architectural heritage. So if you buy one of the homes there, you have to follow the rules and the guidelines when you fix it back up. But it's so inexpensive and it's just so beautiful. I mean, just spectacular. So, Matagalpa, Hinotega up in the mountains, and then the colonial homes in Granada. And then if you're looking for just a piece of beachfront property kind of way out in the middle of nowhere, up near Conseguina, there are some beautiful beach properties in the northern part of the country that are extremely affordable. That would be a good investment for the long term. It'll be a long time before there's any real services or tourism there. But if you said, look, my time frame's 20 years, I just want to buy and hold, something in the Conseguina area would be a really good opportunity. And thank you, Carter. Yeah, Grand Pacifica. Again, location. You're buying into a residential community with a golf course, homes, condos, restaurants, tennis courts. I mean, all the stuff that people look for. And so, if you own an oceanfront condo for $139,000, it'll rent. I mean, so not only will you see great appreciation over, the next 10, 15 years, you'll actually see, very nice cash flow as well. So again, depending on your investment ideas and what you're looking for, there are some great opportunities in Nicaragua. And by the way, that Nicaragua Handbook, again, not a sales document. It talks about the country.
Sales document is free.
Yeah, and it's free. It's free. That's right. And it talks about the different regions of the country that we just talked about. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Granada as a starting point, get the Nicaragua Handbook. Look at the section on Granada and yeah, check it out, or the mountains, whatever.
All right, folks. Wow, I told you were going to like it. I told you were going to like that, and I know you did, because that's just, folks. Let me tell you something. I do a lot of work with one of the major investment houses in America, and people pay a lot of money for that kind of advice. All right, you got it free, and you're going to keep getting it free. Remember, every Friday now, open mic. The other 4 programs for all week long center on lifestyle, but that 5th one, every Friday, open mic, where I'm going to interview Mike, centers on offshore investments. So, and I'm telling you, my super producer and I were talking before the show went on. He and I are going to make some investments down there. Just sit on the property, because it's your Solomon's Island opportunity. Okay, it really is. I want you to take advantage of it. I want you to take advantage of it. We always close with what I like to feel is a word of encouragement, because we all need encouragement. Okay. I've lived long enough in life to know that we all need a word of encouragement occasionally. As I said earlier, my father was a minister, and he was always encouraging his people, as to what God could do in their lives, and what they could do in their lives, and what they needed to do in their lives to make their lives better and those around them. And one of the people who I follow pretty diligently, and really had an impact on my life. And now in this section, Let's Do This Thing section, our closing section of Coffee with Carib Carter, I want to recommend to you that you join me in following a guy named Tim Grover. Okay. Tim, some of you are saying, come on, Carter, I already know who he is. I already follow him. He's fantastic. And so who I'm talking about, and he's going to change some people's lives. And many of you probably changed yours like he did mine. When I read his book, Relentless, Tim was the trainer for Michael Jordan and for Kobe Bryant. Okay. He trained them, and not to be vulgar, but when he trained Michael first, and when Michael retired and Kobe said to him, what do you think? Should I hire Tim? And he said, I think you should. If you wanted to be as great as I am, you want to be that, you said you want to be great. If you want to even have a shot at it, yeah, I think you should. He said, but I need to give you a word of warning. Tim isn't an asshole. He is the asshole. Okay. Well, and Tim got a kick out of that. And he said, I consider it a compliment. What Michael meant was because he pushes people. Tim Grover talks about 3 kinds of people. And I'm going to close with this. But I think I know what a lot of you are already in his troika. And I think I know what a few of you are and where we all need to be. Okay. He talks about, and he does push people, make no mistake about it. You want to be great, he pushes you. He talks about 3 kinds of people in life. There are what he calls coolers. Coolers are those people are 9-to-5ers. They show up. They never do anything out of the ordinary. They would never think of joining you and me offshore. Okay, just would not ever think of it. What are you crazy? They're the coolers. They're not my kind of people, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. I just have never. I've never cottoned to them, as they say down south. But they're not bad people, but they're just they're 9-to-5ers. Okay, they're what I call life's also rans. All right, and Tim says, if that's what you want to be, that's what you want to be. But the next step up is to be a closer. Okay, closer is a term we all hear in sales a lot. They're the people who really get something done. They make something of themselves in life. And then I think like 90 of you all, 90% of you all are already closers. You either are making something big of yourself in life, or you've made something big of yourself in life. Okay, closers are great. All right, the closers are great. They drive the bus. All right, they make the all-star team, and I think almost all of you are, and all of and it's a tremendous achievement. But there's another level, and a lot of closers I think are moving offshore now because they do want to achieve more. But then Tim says there's another level. This is all in his book, Relentless, in his videos. Just look it up, Tim Grover. Go to YouTube, type it in, because you're going to enjoy them. Some of you who follow Carib Carter, I do some of my videos from my basement when I'm weightlifting occasionally, and I can tell you, before I do those videos, I'm listening to Tim's YouTube audios, okay? The audios from his YouTubes, because it just pushes you forward. His third category: coolers, closers, cleaners. Kobe, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, these people, Tom Bradley, they're cleaners, okay? They are what I think, I would wager right now, a good 30%, maybe a little more of you already are. You're cleaners. You're cleaners. And you're the ones who are already saying, hey, I'm looking for my place offshore. I'm looking for my investment offshore. I'm looking to make the move because I want to reach for the stars, okay? Closers are great. Cleaners are icons, okay? Jordan, Kobe, icons. And that's what I believe you are. And that's why I encourage you to make these moves, to make the move offshore, fulfill everything. And one of the qualities, and I'll close with this, of a cleaner, of the iconic cleaners of you, is that they elevate those around them, okay? It's not enough for them to just elevate themselves, which they do way, way up here. They elevate those around them. And when you make your move offshore, you're going to be elevating everyone you take with you. All those family members, maybe for generations to come. Talk about legacy wealth. That's what you do as a cleaner. That's what you're going to be doing. That's iconic. So what do you say? Let's do this thing.
Well, you know what? In the book Relentless, we talk about the don't think concept. Your skills are so finely good at what you do, whether it's trading, making business decisions, playing basketball, that you know if you do fail at something, it's just this little stumbling block. The next time you're going to succeed because you've done it over and over again, not only physically, but your mental preparation.
The thing that makes individuals really, really special who are that great is they're always looking for that competitive edge. So it's interesting to see how a champion in sports, how it relates to a champion in business. It's the same mindset. It's about winning the battles, continuing to improve, learning new ways to stay ahead of the game. Clarity is what gives you the idea of success, being able to close those deals. When you can see and you can think and you can react with a clear mind, and you take your emotions out of it, you're in that zone. Getting the deal is just a byproduct, and the minute you get the deal, you're already thinking about what's next.
When you want to excel at something, what must you have? Did I just hear somebody say passion in the audience? You know what passion is? Passion is an emotion. It's an emotion without an action. Passion will get you nowhere. Inner drive will get you nowhere unless you act on it. You have to act on your passion. You have to act on your inner drive. Don't let those feelings stay inside of you. You got to know what to do with them. You got to know how to make them work in order to get what you want. Don't keep it inside. Knowing that you're the best at what you do and you've done all your homework to get to that point. Relentless is about trusting your instincts, but the only way you can trust your instincts is if you've done your homework and your skill is so finely tuned at whatever you do.
You have people in sports, you have the role players, and they're trying to step out and be superstars. And I always tell them, I said, you got to think about winning first. All right. If the team wins, you'll get paid. If the team doesn't win, you will not get paid. Okay. The bottom line is the end result. Just like when you guys close a deal, not only do you win, everybody underneath you who helps you close the deal, the company, it all ties in together.
Decide, commit, act, succeed, repeat. The one thing that all the greats have in common is they sweat the small stuff. They pay very, very close attention to every detail. Michael used to sweat the details so much in his basketball game that it carried on into his personal life. The suit had to match the car he was driving that particular day. But what those details allowed him to do was to put him in the zone to be the best basketball player on that given night. The dark side is something that's in everybody, but it's a situation that you have to control the dark side. If it controls you, that's when things start to go real bad. That's when you have a tendency to go to what I call the other side. But if you harness the fuel that's from that dark side, whether it's anger, whether it's fear, and turn that into positive fuel, it'll help you really succeed at whatever you're trying to do.
A great leader knows how to push buttons, how to push the buttons of different people. I totally disagree with that philosophy 100%. All right. I don't want to have somebody to have that much control over me where they're pushing my buttons. As a great leader, okay, what I do with my clients is I pull their buttons. And then I teach them in certain situations to know when to push their own buttons.
Well, you have to keep yourself focused on whatever your ultimate goal is. There's stumbling blocks all the way. People get laid off, you have a bad game, you get traded from a team that you don't want to be with. But if your goal and your focus remains the same, that, hey, this is going to happen, and I know I have the skills and I have the knowledge and I have the instincts to dig myself out of this hole, you will dig yourself out of the hole. You have to control the situation. Don't let the situation control you. We talk about coolers, we talk about closers, and we talk about cleaners. Cleaners going to get you that end result over and over again. They are so well prepared and their instincts are so sharp, they already know what to do. If there's a person that's producing exceptionally, there's a reason behind it. It's the process, the constant challenge to get there again and again and again is what drives these individuals. Everyone talks about, we want to be legendary. We want to be iconic. Don't settle for legendary.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us at the Offshore Club. For more information on the Offshore Club or to contact Carib Carter, visit www.offshore.club today. www.offshore.club. That's www.offshore.club. See you next time at the Offshore Club.